So get all the bones and skin and juices, everything into here from the Costco chickens. Covered it with water. I'll let that simmer for a short time. And I'll strain it all off and save that for either for cooking, or I'll cook it down and freeze dry it. I'll probably use it in rice or potatoes or pasta or something like that. Okay, so that'll take an hour or two. Let it simmer a bit. Okay, I'm gonna rinse the rice in cold water till it runs clear underneath. All the loose starch and dust is washed away. There's 4 cups of rice, and I'm putting it in about 6 cups of chicken broth. I'm cooking 4 cups of rice in about 6 cups of chicken broth. It's chicken broth that I made from the Costco rotisserie chicken after I stripped the chicken off for shredded chicken. I made sure to undercook it so that it wouldn't end up mushy after I rehydrated it. I think it came out real well. Got the little 7x7 pans. Quick spritz of the non-stick cooking spray. And zero it out. And slightly undercooked rice so that it will finish cooking when I go to rehydrate it. 1 pound per pan. So trying to get it out of there quickly so it doesn't keep steaming and cooking. Okay, so 1 pound. So 1 pound in a pan. And then the half size pans, I already sprayed it. Then do a ½ pound on each side. All right, and then 8 ounces on the other side. All right, so ½ pound on each side. I'll kind of smooth them down. So kind of smooth them down and then get them into the freezer for pre-freezing. Try to keep the divider as close to the middle as possible so that it will fit on the trays. Okay, so get all of those filled and then they're ready to pre-freeze. All right, so depanning some of the rice and just working on top of one of the freezers. Just trying to go as quickly as possible so nothing thaws. If it doesn't thaw, it doesn't stick together. So these are 1 pound blocks. And rice, since it's not sticky rice, sometimes it does tend to come apart a little bit. And that's fine. It's gonna still be pretty close. Okay, these are some ½ pound blocks of rice. I already pulled out the divider earlier. All right, so it's had a chance to defrost and get dried out. Now it's time to get it restarted. It's getting late. I want to get this started right away. So I've got the thermometer underneath. I'll get the plastic disc in place and get it started. Okay, so get it started. And again, I have an older machine, so I can run it in custom all the time and decide how cold it's going to be and how long it's going to go. So continue. I've already closed the drain valve. All right, and it's only 51 degrees because it didn't have a chance to really get up to temperature after defrosting, and that's just fine. So a viewer's comment reminded me about the drains. If you have your hose deep into the water and you forget to turn off or close the drain valve, or don't empty this when you start, you could suck air or water up into your chamber, and that's a bad thing. My hose just barely goes into the container. If it were longer, I would simply cut it off. Another thing I could do would be to make a little holder so that it sets up here above it. Anyway, that would make it impossible for it to ever suck water up in there. So far that's never happened to me because it rarely fills high enough to get to the bottom of the tube. And even if it did, and I did forget and suck some up in there, it's only going to pull up a few ounces because it's just that top 1/4 inch or so. Okay. Tray 1 and parchment paper. And on this one, it's rice. This is the rice that I de-panned a while back. And so I've got these cubes ready to go on there. So each block is 1 pound. I can probably move that up a little bit. So each block is 1 pound and ready to put on there. I might lose a few grains of the rice as I move them. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'll get them all on there. So 2 pounds of the rice, and then I've got the half blocks to fit in between. Okay, so tray 1. Oh, and those should already be pre-weighed to 2.5 pounds, but I'll still write down the weights on them, just see how they do. 1867, and they probably have lost a little bit of weight while they've been freezing. Okay, tray 2. Okay, 1859. Tray 3. 1837. And tray 4. Then I have 1 block, because I only made 9 pounds, so I have 1 block that we'd had from before, that's cilantro lime flavored rice from an earlier batch. Let's get thermometers in there and get them in the freeze dryer. So, got the 4 thermometers, and I'm going to switch these thermometers out because a viewer asked a question that I'd forgotten about. I'm going to be switching these thermometers out for ones that are like the other one that I have underneath the rack that goes from -40 up to 160. They're just a different temperature range, but that's what I should have been using. But these were the first ones I found, and I've just kept using them. I assumed since they weren't too expensive that they would break and I'd replace them. They haven't broken. Okay, let's see if I can get these in there. I'm going to try to get them. I really should consider a different way to accomplish this on some of these. Let's see if that's deep enough. And 1 more. Okay. Okay, those are ready. Go get them into the freeze dryer. It's been pre-freezing for 28 minutes now, and it's down to 19 degrees. So it's not as cold as I absolutely like, but it's cold enough because it's still below freezing. And it's dropping quickly. So we'll get these in there. Tray 1, starting at the top. And 2. And 3. And 4. All right. Now they're in there. So they're going in May 6th. They'll come out May 8th. And then move on to the next thing. It's down to the last hour and a quarter of final dry, but there's no chance that it could be finished yet. Less than an hour ago, the highest temperature in the thermometers in the trays was 80 degrees. 2 of them are around 40 degrees. There's no chance that it's going to be dry in the next hour and a quarter. So since it's going to be in the middle of the night, I'm going to go ahead and add 3 or 4 more hours now so that everything has a chance to get up to temperature, and then we'll check it in the morning, rewarm it and check it again. So let's show those thermometers again. So the display is showing 110, 111, 112. The tray the heater's just turned back on. And the thermistor, the temperature probe is in between the heater and the tray. So it's like the warmest spot possible. Okay, so it says 120, the pressure's nice and low, the time is getting low. But let's go for the thermometers. So bottom tray, currently that's the coldest one. The top one was the coldest. In fact, the top two were the coldest, but now they're the hottest. Yeah, I should have taken a picture of that an hour ago. So the bottom tray, just over 60. Next tray up, it's about 80. Next tray says it's about 120, so it's doing real well. The top one is about almost 130 right now. So we'll come back and check them tomorrow. The rice has been sitting here waiting for about 5 hours. I'm going to rewarm it a little bit so that they're not 40 below, 50 below when I take them out to do a weight check on them. Right now, if I take them out, they're just, I mean, any moisture in this air is going to condense right on those trays and on the rice because it's just freaking cold right now. I should have gotten them out hours ago. So anyway, I'll rewarm them a little bit, then we'll get them out and weigh them and then get them back in for a weight check. Also, in the meantime, so there's the water from the milk batch. So almost over a gallon. So 8.5 pounds or something from that, of course. Okay, so we'll get this rewarmed enough to take them out and check them. So we're going to give them the least amount of time I can for rewarming. I'll check the thermometers in the rice to check it. So let's see what it says. So more dry time. And of course everything's still closed. Okay, so it's saying it's negative 58 on the trays right now. And the thermometers in the food, I don't even know because they're pegged down as low as they can go. Yeah, I mean, they're as low as it can go. So we'll wait until that shows, at least 50 or 60 before we take them out and check them. Okay, we'll be back. All right, so all the thermometers in the trays are up to 80 or above, so let's go ahead and stop it, check it, and then get them back in. So that took about a little less than 40 minutes, or about 40 minutes. So get the drain valve open. Let's get them out and checked, and I'll rotate them top to bottom when I put them back in. So tray 1, it's now 1176. Okay, tray 2. I should have done the other ones first so I could rotate them. So I'll get tray 4, 1118, and then this one will go up to the top. Put number 1 down at the bottom. Tray 3, 1155. Okay, and then that one will go to the next to the top. And getting tray 2 and next to the bottom. So now they're back in there, 1 to 4 from bottom to top. And we'll get that restarted and give it 2 hours. Okay, I'm going to close the drain valve. So we'll get that restarted, give it 2 more hours, and then come back and check it to make sure that they were dry. I assume it was because we gave it 4 extra hours for overnight. So we'll get them checked. So more time. Drain valve is closed, and I look to check anyway because I don't trust myself. Okay, continue. Pump's plenty cool. Seal has a complete ring around it almost instantly. Everything looks good. And now we'll give it 2 more hours and then check it. So don't go away, we'll be right back. It's 2 hours later. Let's get the rice out, check it, make sure that it's dry. If there's no weight change from before, that means it was dry 2 hours ago, and we'll put that time as how long it took. So you can see it's in the last 5 minutes, and the pressure is really, really low. The heaters have turned off and it's started dropping temperature. So we'll get that canceled out. We get the drain valve opened. And we'll see what we have. Okay, and tray 1. Oh, no change. The next tray, if they're all no change, then they're ready to come out. Tray 3. 11:55, no change. And tray 4. And I covered that over. We're going to call that good and take them out. So no defrost. Make it much quieter. Get the defrost fan into place. And a little defrost shield in there. And pull the thermometer out from underneath. Okay. And the rice batch has less water in than some of the other ones, like the milk. So it'll defrost pretty quickly. And then we'll get the next batch in there. Well, let's get them over for bagging. While we're over here, let's get the power usage. So power usage is 23.54 kilowatt hours. 2354. And I'll reset. All right, so we'll get the thermometers out and get the new weights. 1166. Tray 2, 1152. Tray 3, 1144. And tray 4, 1107. Okay, so now we have the weights. Calculate that out. But I already know that each one of these blocks was a pound and the little block was a ½ pound. So I'm going to bag them that way. And this was the cilantro lime rice because I didn't have enough. I accidentally didn't make enough of the other rice. So I used that one. And my daughter wants it back. Now she can take it camping now. The rice is dry now. Going to put it in 1 pound bags. 1 pound before it's dried, of course. Now it's much lighter. I'm not going to worry about the exact weights right now for the totals, except to get that so that we know the total weight loss of the water. Anyway, so these are going to go in the bags. Hopefully 1 pound will fit in a bag. If I need to, I could use a bigger bag, but I'm hoping that after these are crumbled up all separate, that it'll make it. We'll go ahead and try it. So I've got my bags pre-labeled with the batch number, what it is, the date that it went into the freeze dryer, and that it needs some amount of water. I'll fill that in, assuming this fits. I think it'll fit. Let's find out. I need to keep that one separate because it's the cilantro lime rice. The other ones, I don't mind if they get mixed. So there's 9 pounds of rice plus that 1 pound of rice. So I can mix the other ones into whatever sizes. So I'm going to use one of the little flexible cutting mats and see if I can move these pieces off of there without having them come apart. And this one looks a lot different because I had 2 batches of rice. So I had some just plain white rice from earlier, and then I had the cooked white rice that I did on these batches using the chicken broth. So that's why that one looks so different, because there is some just plain white rice, and I just topped it off with enough to get to the pound. All right, so now I've got this one separate, and this one was cooked more because of it was cooked in a different batch earlier. So this one might have been a wetter rice to begin with. It certainly was cooked more. There's the 1 pound of rice, and I can weigh that and find out how much water it needs. So if I use one of these to tear it out, and then I can move to this one. I'm going to go with ounces, 4.64 ounces, and it was 16 ounces. So that means I need 11.36. Okay, so it needs a little over 11 ounces of water added to it. I'll just put that it needs 11 ounces. So it's 1 pound, needs 11 ounces. All right, well, we'll see how that works out. So my plan is to just crumble it up a little bit, because all the little pieces will come separate now, and we'll see if it'll fit in there. So if it doesn't fit, then I'll put it in 3/4 pounds, and I'll have to just kind of mix everything together. All right, so give that a little bit of a shake to shake it down. It fits, so that's how I'm going to bag them. So it needs almost 11 ounces of water, so 10.8. Going to take 1 block at a time and move it over there. Whoa! All right, so again, continue kind of crumbling them apart. When I got my freeze dryer, there was no option for vacuum pumps. There was only one. So a viewer asked if I could recommend the oil-free vacuum pump. I don't know if it's better or not. It sounds like it could be. So the question to everybody out there, if you have the oil-free vacuum pump, would you recommend it? Even more importantly, if you have had both pumps, which one would you recommend and why? Obviously, the oil-free is less messy, but what about expense over time? If I compare my standard pump to the premium pump, will I get way more than 2 times the life out of it? If I compare it to the oil-free pump, will I get more than 5 times the life out of it? If the standard one will last me 4 years, will I get more than 20 years out of the oil-free pump? If I can't, well, then it's not money well spent in my mind. And sure, part of the price difference is convenience of not having to deal with the oil, but I really don't find it that difficult. Anyway, I think a lot of it comes down to personal preference. But I don't want to do the cheap one if the overall long-term cost is more. So, got them all filled, 1 pound each. Used quart bags, 10 of them. I put the amount of water needed individually on each one, since I didn't mix it all together. So I had 1 pound pieces, they'll be 1 pound again. It probably would have been good to put them in a big bowl and just mix them together, so then they would have all been even and equal. Because when I put them in the pans originally, some of them would have been wetter than others, depending on where it was in the pan. So it probably would have been better to put them in a big bowl, and maybe next time I will, or a big Ziploc, and kind of mix them around. In the future, I probably would do that. So I need to add also that it's chicken flavored, because I used chicken broth in there. Okay, so I'm using 300 cc oxygen absorbers again, and we'll get those in there and get them sealed. Going to take one of these and just slide it down alongside the rice try to get it deep enough so that when I go to zipper it, it doesn't end up stuck in the zipper. Because hate it when it's stuck in the zipper. All right, so now we'll get them zippered, and they're quite full. So there's not really anything I can do to push out any extra air, because there's just, you see, that's really quite full. There's just no extra room to push out any air. So that'll seal down nicely, and there's all the air in between every little grain of rice. The air, the oxygen will get sucked out of there, and this will look like it was vacuum packed by probably tomorrow. All right, so I've got it nice and smooth. Even though it's kind of wrinkly down here, the top is still nice and smooth. Seal it up at the top of the bag as high as I can get. All right, and I want to do it twice with this first bag to make sure that it's completely up to temperature. And these are so good, these sealers, it's probably, I probably don't need to do that at all. It's probably overkill, but I'm such a habit of it, I'm still going to. All right, nicely sealed. So we'll just pop through these real quick, and then we'll go put them in the bins. That's when I have it kind of off the edge a little bit. That's not a full width seal. I'll add a little bit more so I get the full width. All right. We paid for a 5mm wide seal. We're going to get a 5mm wide seal. Before I store them in the bin, I'm going to put the gross weight of each bag on it, 185. So if I have a problem with the bag later, I'll know. As soon as we get these all labeled, we'll get over to the bin and get them in. So the rice is ready to go into the bin. We've got 10 1-quart bags of rice. Each bag is a pound once it's rehydrated. We'll add that to the other things before that. So this will be the 5th thing in this bin. And then we have one more to go with this particular bin. The next item on the list is the meal type things, and we're doing chili for this one. So we have some homemade chili. We do a nice big batch of chili when we do it. I think this was 26 pounds of chili. We froze 20 pounds of it, but we're only freeze drying 10 of it right now. The other 10 will either freeze dry sometime in the future when we get time and space in the freeze dryer, or we'll just end up thawing it out and eating it if we get hungry for chili. So let's get these in the bin and move on to the next thing. So we've got the milk from last time. It's kind of all squished down now, nice and snug. And we'll add to it the rice from this time. So we've got 10 bags of rice, and so far this bin looks less full than a couple of the others. I think it's just the set that we chose. Well, I know it is because the pasta was big. We had to use a lot of 2-quart bags. Haven't had to use 2-quart bags for this particular set. And it's not good or bad, it's just a thing. Okay, there we go. Trying to nestle them down in there so it's a nice even layer. The rice is stored away, waiting for the machine to defrost. As soon as that's defrosted, we'll get the next batch in there, which is the meals for this set. And this time doing chili. Our definitions of meals is loose. In the meantime, we'll get the table surfaces wiped off again, getting them ready for the next time, because as you know, I spill things, so I wipe them down every time, make sure that they're ready to use and clean enough to eat off of. I was so happy I remembered to turn the sound recording on, but I forgot to start the camera. So anyway, so I don't have video at all. So seal has a complete run. We froze. We froze 10 pounds of it. No,